Gandil just broke his silence, and what he's revealing is absolutely insane. Remember that Netflix documentary about Diddy that everyone's been talking about? Well, the footage Gandil collected was too controversial for Netflix. They couldn't show it. But here's the thing. Gene's about to leak every single piece of evidence that 50 Cent had to censor. And trust me, this is going to change everything you thought you knew. Look, I know you clicked on this video because you want the real story, the uncensored truth. And that's exactly what you're going to get. Gandil, Diddy's former bodyguard, who saw everything firsthand, finally did an interview. And he's not holding back anymore? Here's what you need to understand. Gan was supposed to be in the Netflix documentary. He talked with 50 Cent for 45 minutes. They had plans, but then something went wrong. The director disrespected him and Gene walked away. Now he's revealing all the stories that didn't make the cut. You're going to discover the real story behind the City College tragedy, the truth about Anthony Wolf Jones, what really happened with Kim Porter, and why A-list celebrities paid to stay out of this documentary. Everything 50 Cent couldn't show you is about to be revealed right here, right now. So, let's get into it. Alright, before we dive into the leaked information, you need to understand what happened behind the scenes, because this is wild. 50 Cent and Netflix just released this documentary called Sean Combs, The Reckoning. It hit #1 on Netflix immediately. Everyone's watching it. Everyone's talking about it. But here's what they're not telling you. This documentary left out some of the most important stories. Gandil was Diddy's bodyguard for years. This man witnessed everything. The parties, the violence, the business deals, the tragedies, everything. He's been collecting footage and evidence for years, just waiting for the right moment to tell the truth. Now, Gene initially wanted to be part of 50 Cent's documentary. He believed in the project. He thought this was finally going to be the moment where the real story came out. But then, he met with the director.
It don't even sound, I want to put her on blast because she was telling me, she was saying to me that what I was asking for was crazy and they wasn't spending money like that. I'm talking about you got footage, you got clothing, you got, I was doing footage, I had pictures, all the stuff that I had, you could figure out a way to pay a brother and stuff like that. And then I was telling her about some prices that I've already received and I had the invoices to show it. And then she was calling me like I was lying. I was like, yo, who do you think you talking to? You know what I'm saying? And she was talking about, there's no way nobody paid. Nobody what? I say, first of all you people come with these documentaries and stuff, the first thing you tell me, y'all tell these people out here that y'all don't pay, and y'all pay. If you can make a picture look like $10,000, $15,000, you know what I'm saying? You can sit here and tell me that you're gonna pay me for my time sitting right down here with y'all. You understand? So then, one thing led to another, and I was like, all right, well then, F you, I spoke to 50, and then she said 50, and this is exact words that came out her mouth. 50 does not determine what goes in and goes out of this documentary.
Director, a woman named Alex Stapleton. And let me tell you, that meeting did not go well. Wanted to do this right? He tried to put together a package deal with 2 other guys who knew Diddy from the beginning, Tim and Kirk Burrows. These 3 men could have told the complete story. From Diddy's childhood to the street stuff to the business empire. Everything. Gene asked for $50,000 for all 3 of them as a package. That's fair, right? Especially when you consider the value of the footage and evidence they had. But here's where it gets messy. Alex Stapleton, the director, told Gene something shocking. She said 50 Cent doesn't determine what goes in the documentary. He doesn't control who gets paid. She basically said 50's name is just being used for promotion. But he doesn't actually have power over the project. Gene felt completely disrespected. He had invoices showing what other documentaries had paid him. He showed her proof, but she called him a liar. Can you imagine? This man risked his life protecting Diddy, witnessed actual crimes, collected evidence for years, and the director treated him like he was making things up. And here's the crazy part. While Gene was trying to negotiate a fair deal for everyone, Kirk Burrows was making secret side deals. That's how the industry works, right? Everyone's looking out for themselves. Gan was trying to help everyone get paid fairly, but Kirk was cutting his own deal behind the scenes. So, Gene walked away. He refused to participate. And that's why the documentary you watched on Netflix feels incomplete, because the man who knew the most refused to be part of it. But now, he's ready to tell you everything they left out. Let's start with something the documentary how Bad Boy Records was really structured. Because this is important. This explains everything. Kirk Burrows, one of the guys I just mentioned, owned 25% of Bad Boy Records from the very beginning. Diddy owned the other 75%. But here's the twist. It was all under his mother's name, Janice Combs. Why would Diddy do that? Why not put the company in his own name? Gandeal knows exactly why. It was a scheme to avoid legal liability. See, Diddy knew he was going to be sued after the City College tragedy. We'll get to that story in a minute, but just know 9 people died at an event Diddy organized. Their families were going to sue. So, Diddy made sure the company wasn't in his name. Smart, right? Evil, but smart. But then Diddy decided he wanted Kirk's 25% to, according to Kirk's own testimony in the documentary, Diddy showed up with a baseball bat. He threatened Kirk's life, forced him to sign over his stake in the company. Kirk tried to sue in 2003, but the case got thrown out because too much time had passed. Think about that. Kirk co-founded Bad Boy Records. He did the work. He built the company alongside Diddy, and then Diddy took everything from him with violence and threats. Kirk ended up homeless at one point. Meanwhile, Diddy became a billionaire off the company they built together. The documentary mentioned this story, but they didn't go deep enough. Gene Deal could have explained.
What I feel about the documentary, they left a whole lot of key things out. If they was going to do something and they're going to say in the reckoning of Sean Combs, the reckoning, or Diddy, the reckoning and stuff like that, it should have been a lot of people that we lost because of him. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't only Big. It wasn't only Tupac, you understand? For the atmosphere that he put those kids in. You got a guy named Anthony Wolf Jones, who was from Bad Boy, from its conception as doing security and being one of the financiers of Puff having to have some money to keep Big and Craig Mack around before he got to Clyde Davis.
Now this has explained the whole scheme. He could have shown how Diddy used his mother's name to hide money and avoid lawsuits, but none of that made it into the final cut. I wonder why. It gets pretty black at this point. According to Gene Deal, the documentary totally disregarded an entire murder story. I am referring to Anthony Wolf Jones. From the beginning, Wolf served as Bad Boy's chief of security. This man existed prior to Clive Davis's record agreements and everything else. He was among Diddy's most devoted warriors. I mean, he was an expert on everything. What actually transpired at those parties, where the victims were buried, and who was compensated. Wall was an expert in everything. Gandeal further claims that Wolf's murder was a direct result of Diddy's conduct. Gandeal claims that the documentary team lacked the intelligence necessary to adequately present this story. The investigation was not carried out by them. They lacked the proof. Perhaps they did, but decided not to utilize it. Someone connected to BMF killed Wolf. That is, the Black Mafia family. One of the largest criminal groups in the history of hip-hop. Additionally, Gene claims that Diddy and Wolf's passing are directly related. However, Wolf was seldom mentioned in the documentary. They claimed he was security, displayed a few photos, and went on. Why? Because there is too much risk in this story. It features actual crooks.
Was Puff, Heavy D, and Jessica. You know what I'm saying? Jessica was the reason why those kids lost their life, because she locked the door on those kids running down the step. You understand? You could see her name in a news article, but they didn't mention nothing about her taking place, but they try to put Heavy D, God bless the dead, out there, and they put Puff out there. You know what I'm saying? She should have been the main one, because she is the one who locked the door on the kids. You understand? She is the one who locked the door on the kids, and all those kids lost their life.
All right. Actual homicides and actual organized crime. Netflix was unwilling to deal with it. Gandeal is arguing that this narrative must be told, even though 50 Cent most likely didn't want to touch it either. Wolf's demise wasn't an accident. Everything else was related to it. Okay, so this following story may enrage you because the documentary informed you about the disaster at City College, but it didn't tell you everything. In fact, Gandeal was present that evening. He saw everything, and what he's disclosing alters the whole narrative. Diddy arranged his celebrity basketball match at City College in New York on December 28, 1991. This massive charity event was the original plan. It involves Heavy D. Every major celebrity was on their way. Everyone, including LL Cool J and Mike Tyson. It was crowded. Now the outside was initially handled by Gandeal's security staff. He was prepared with 18 guys. They owned pit bulls and Rottweilers. They had gates installed. To manage the crowd, they had an entire system in place. Gan was aware of how people react to the presence of celebrities in Harlem. He was ready. However, Diddy told Gene the day before the concert that Heavy D no longer wanted his security team present. They were immediately let go, and no security from outside. Thus, anarchy erupted on the night of the event. There were thousands of people attempting to enter. The audience went nuts as LL Cool J and Mike Tyson entered through the front entrance rather than the back. They hurried to the door. In the stairs, people were being crushed. This is the portion you weren't told in the documentary. A woman with the name of Bloom, Jessica Rosen. She worked as a promoter alongside Heavy D and Diddy. Jessica became alarmed when she noticed the crowd swelling. She didn't care about the individuals though. The money box and all the money from ticket sales scared her. According to Jean, Jessica locked the door at the bottom of the stairs after grabbing the cash. To keep the money safe, she locked it. Additionally, she imprisoned hundreds of people in that stairwell when she shut that door. 9 people perished. Someone shut a door to keep money safe, and 9 children were crushed to death. The mob prevented Jean from descending the steps. He had to enter through a different entrance, run around the entire gymnasium, and begin opening doors from within. Children had already died by the time he arrived. He gave a 17-year-old youngster CPR. Nevertheless, the child passed away. The older brother of the boy was, "This is the first time I ever took my little brother anywhere," she sobbed. "My mother is going to murder me." All of this was seen by Gene Deal. He is fully aware of what transpired. He is aware of who secured the door. However, Jessica Rosenblum was never prosecuted. Only a few old news stories mention her. No accusations, no repercussions, nothing. The documentary highlighted that they concentrated on Diddy and Heavy D, despite the catastrophe at City College. They never discussed Jessica. They never gave an explanation for the dismissal of Gene's security staff. They never informed you that 9 people perished while someone shut a door to safeguard money. Gan may have narrated this tale in the documentary. He made an attempt, but it was rejected. You must ask yourself, let's talk about why Gan actually left this documentary. Because the stories he's attempting to portray are as bizarre as the drama that goes on behind the scenes. I take it that Gan arranged the entire package deal. Kirk Burrows, Tim, and him, 3 men that had various perspectives about Diddy. Tim was aware of the early years and childhood. Kirk was aware of the commercial aspect. Gene was aware of the violence, the streets, and the security issues. They could have told the whole tale together. However, the director, Alex Stapleton, began to behave strangely. She informed Gene that the amount of money he was requesting was absurd. They weren't using that kind of budget, she claimed. Invoices from other documentaries that had paid him comparable sums were displayed to her by Gene. She rejected the evidence he had. Then she mentioned something that caused Gene much distress. She informed him that 50 Cent had no say over the content of the documentary. 50 has no say over who gets paid. She clarified that 50 didn't really have creative control, and that his name was only being used for promotion. Now consider that. This is being promoted as a 50 Cent's documentary about Diddy. His feud with Diddy is being used to advertise the show. However, 50 has no real influence over what is included behind the scenes. That's crazy. Gene felt disregarded. He has been sharing these tales on his own platform for many years. This director is treating him as if he is unimportant despite the fact that he has real evidence, including footage, images, and documentation. Kirk Burrows was doing his own side business. In the meantime, he was attempting to get Gene to accept less money by calling him. However, Gene discovered that Kirk was secretly negotiating his own contract. Man, that's the industry. Everyone has their own interests in mind. Gene then told everyone to put it behind them. He turned to leave. The documentary feels lacking. Because of this is why so many significant stories were omitted. Because he was mistreated, the most knowledgeable man declined to take part. This is what really irritates viewers of the documentary. Kim Porter was hardly acknowledged. The mother of Diddy's children and his former fiancé passed away unexpectedly in 2018. She was only 47. It was officially diagnosed as pneumonia. However, many individuals are curious about what actually transpired. Kim Porter was an expert on Diddy. She spent years with him. She witnessed all of the events, parties, commercial transactions, fighting, etc., before passing away unexpectedly. Furthermore, it isn't actually addressed in the documentary. According to several accounts, the Kim Porter tale was purposefully left out of the documentary. It's too delicate, too contentious, and possibly even too risky. However, Gene Deal is aware of what actually took place. He was acquainted with Kim. Sometimes he shielded her. He is knowledgeable. However, none of that was included in the documentary. After mentioning that Kim was the mother of his children and displaying a few photos of her, they moved on. She should have received greater recognition for her significant role in Diddy's life. Unless they have a motive to steer clear of that narrative, let's discuss a suspicious matter. For decades, Diddy hosted parties, large gatherings with politicians, athletes, musicians, actors, and A-list celebrities. Everybody attended Diddy gatherings. That was his whole personality. Everyone was familiar to him. He was well connected everywhere. So why aren't any of these celebs featured in the documentary? Why are there no accounts of the events that took place at those parties? Are you saying that Diddy organized hundreds of freak-offs without any celebrities participating? Come on. Gandeal thinks that 50 Cent was bribed by A-list celebrities to exclude them from the documentary. Consider it. These individuals have reputations, families, and professions to safeguard. Their lives would be destroyed if their names were linked to Diddy's offense. Since 50 Cent is a businessman at the end of the day, they paid, and he kept the money. He's not attempting to ruin other people's occupations. All he wanted to do was expose Diddy. However, this implies that not the entire story is being told. In the documentary, it presents a sanitized version, a variant that ignores Diddy and shields the powerful. Gene is able to look straight through it. Have you watched the 50 Cent documentary? I haven't seen it for Diddy. Sorry, I have not seen it. You worked guy? Everyone is telling me that I must watch it. I haven't witnessed it. I don't want to see it. In part, you most likely don't because everything is skewed. Dude, similar to how you can build any narrative you want when you put things together. Everyone is ultimately being programmed. You know, the dude is currently incarcerated. He appeared before the court, as you are aware. Everything is God, the court declared. However, God told him what he had to do. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Give him 5 years. Regarding celebrities remaining silent, have a look at what Marlon Wayans had to say about the documentary. He gave an intriguing response when someone inquired if he had seen it. Marlon stated that he hasn't watched it and is unlikely to do so. Then he made a statement that attracted everyone's interest. He referred to it as a story. When you put things together, you can create whatever story you want, he remarked. Everyone is being programmed, he declared. Why would Marlon say that now? Is he standing up for Diddy? Or is he criticizing the documentary's bias? Or perhaps, as many people believe, Marlon had personal encounters with Diddy that he is reluctant to discuss. For years, there have been rumors concerning Marlon and Diddy. There are rumors in the industry, but nothing is confirmed. Additionally, when Marlon starts talking instead than watching the documentary, it begs the question, what does he know about programming and narratives? Gene Deal most likely knows knowledge about Marlon and many other celebrities. But none of them wanted their stories to be revealed, so they stayed out of it. How did you obtain that Diddy video? I assumed that the majority of journalists wouldn't reveal their sources. Is he aware that you guys have this in the doc? Well, I don't think he knows. Therefore, when this airs, it will be the first time that Diddy and his legal team are aware that this tape may suddenly be available to the public. Let's now discuss the footage, which is the most contentious aspect of the entire program. Diddy's behind-the-scenes films before to his arrest. Where did 50 Cent obtain that video? In the documentary, Diddy is shown speaking on loudspeaker with his attorney in his New York hotel room. He's debating tactics, griping about the media, and attempting to come up with a plan. These are private chats and intimate footage. Diddy had employed a videographer to record him at this moment. Perhaps he believed that he would eventually produce his own documentary. Perhaps all he wanted was a record of everything. Someone was using a camera to track him. For whatever reason, here's the issue. Though, Diddy owned that video. He employed the videographer. Contracts and NDAs were in place, and 50 Cent managed to obtain them. Diddy's solicitors right away sent Netflix a cease and desist letter. They referred to it as stolen video that had never been given permission to be released. They insisted that Netflix remove the whole documentary. In response, Netflix stated that they legitimately acquired the video, but they would not disclose how. 50 Cent won't reveal the source. Since the videographer hasn't made any public statements, what actually transpired? Did Diddy never pay the videographer? Therefore, did he sell the footage? One theory is that Gan states in his claim that Diddy frequently fails to pay employees. Perhaps the filmmaker was just another victim who chose to exact retribution. Or did 50 Cent bribe someone to pilfer it? Is this video genuinely unlawful? We're not sure. However, it's undoubtedly dubious and calls into question everything else in the documentary. Gandeal witnessed Diddy's violence firsthand. Additionally, one of the tales he shares is about offending Misa Hilton, the mother of Justin Diddy's first son. Misa wanted Gene to be her bodyguard. When he quit working for Diddy, she was afraid of Diddy, but she wanted to go out and live her life. She was aware of his potential. If Diddy shows up and sees you with me, he won't do anything, Gene told her, charging her $2,250 for a few hours of protection. Diddy is aware of Gene's identity. He is aware that Gene is not afraid of him. The rapper, producer, and Eric's sermon are all featured in the documentary. Eric describes an incident in which Diddy attacked Misa while they were in the car. Diddy attacked Misa in front of Eric in the middle of the road. Diddy allegedly asked Eric to come around the corner and fight, but Eric remained silent. Instead, he simply went to listen to music. That's crazy. According to Gene, He claims that if he had been present, if someone had been in his vehicle, and, no matter who attacked them, Diddy would have defended them. Gan attests to Diddy's severe issue with aggression against women. Everyone was aware of it. In the industry, it was no secret. But because Diddy was wealthy and powerful, people chose to ignore it. The video of Diddy assaulting Cassie in that hotel hallway was shown in the documentary. Everyone was taken aback. However, according to Gene, this behavior wasn't novel. He had spent decades doing this. The video was leaked, which is the only difference. What is Gene Deal's true opinion of the documentary after all of this? He observed. He examined it. He made notes, and his conclusion is really severe. It's old news. According to Gene, industry insiders were already aware of everything in the documentary. Nothing about the violence, control, manipulation, or freak-offs was new. Simply put, it was presented attractively for general audiences. The behind-the-scenes video of Diddy before his arrest was the only novelty. That was intriguing. It was helpful to watch him consult with his attorneys, worry about the media, and attempt to choose his next course of action. You watch it once and you're done, Gene adds. Have anything else? There's no reason to watch it again. Nothing sufficiently startling. Nothing sufficiently profound. Gene is aware of this, as he had the opportunity to improve it. He could have offered the nuance, the true tailies, and the proof. However, that was not what they desired. They were looking for a documentary that would be safe to watch on Netflix without actually endangering somebody significant. The documentary portrayed Diddy as the sole monster in the business, blaming him for everything. However, Gene is aware of the reality. Monsters abound. Many others were aware of what was going on, yet took no action. Many people took part and got away with it. However, the documentary does not feature those individuals. Their identities were kept private. They kept their secrets to themselves. Gan refers to it as incomplete because of this. Look, this is what you must comprehend. For years, Gan Deal has been narrating these tailies, long prior to Netflix's involvement, long before 50 Cent made the decision to create a documentary. Gan has been sharing the truth about what he saw on YouTube, podcasts, and his own channels. I want to hear from you now. Which tale most astonished you? What should 50 Cent have included in the documentary? In your opinion, please share your opinions in the comments section below. Let's have a serious discussion about this. In the next one, I'll see you. Be mindful of your